Hey, I'm Janelle Riley. Welcome to Virtually Together. Today we're going to be talking to, oh my gosh, I don't even have time to list all her credits, but you probably remember Jillian Armenante from, Judging Amy, Bad Teacher, North Country, Fresh Off the Boat. She's one of these people who, just shows up and you instantly smile, and she's a great scene stealer. She tends to have really important parts in movies like The Dark Knight Rises. She's the one who gets to reveal that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Robin. Anyway, I'll let her tell you all about it, but this is a great one, especially for actors. She knows this world inside and out. So without further ado, let's get to it. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are things going over in your little quarantine?
They're great. I mean, I think we're lucky because we have a backyard and a couple trees, so the kids can run around and get some air and light and like that.
And you have animals, don't you?
We do. We have a white-fronted Amazon parrot named Nina, who's kind of a flapping can opener, if you think of her that way. So she's very personality-driven at the moment, but she's pretty cute.
She talks, right? She's one of those ones who mimics you.
She's very communicative. She's very like, she'll be like put me in my cage, and then she'll be like, and she's tired, and she's got they say she has the intellect of a 5-year-old child.
Wow, really?
Yeah, you just have to figure out how to interpret it.
Yeah. It sounds like you speak fluent parrot, so.
I do.
So one of the reasons I want to talk to you, obviously you've played big roles on stage. You were regular on Judging Amy and Fresh Off the Boat, but something you really excel at is stealing scenes with a minimum amount of screen time. I think you have the best line in The Dark Knight Rises. Very, very pivotal line. And I'm not even sure if you have lines in Bad Teacher, but just the way that you longingly look at Cameron Diaz. You do? Okay.
I was really looking at her like that because she's a cutie. She was very fun to work with.
Yeah. What's the secret to being such a great scene stealer?
You don't want to take focus off the main action, but I learned pretty early on when everybody's doing to stop doing. If everybody's like working hard, like to just do nothing. You know what I mean? Do less. If everybody's standing up and saying, look at me, just sit down and do nothing. You know what I mean? So it's just, survival of the fattest. You know what I mean? It's just it's strategy. And, I have that weird actor thing where I see things from above while I'm in the moment. So I see like the play on the blackboard while I'm on the field at the same time. It's hard to explain, but just something I've always done. I'm the last of 5 children, so I think it was, survival.
Right. The need, demanding attention. And you've played so many varied roles. I mean, some of my favorites are you're in Girl Interrupted, North Country. I was able to see you in Cider House Rules on stage, which was amazing. Yes, such a great production. What do you think has been your most challenging role?
Most challenging? Wow, that's interesting. Cider House was a very challenging role because the fact that the play was 8 hours long, it went on for 4 years. It took a big toll on my body because I was doing jumps off of 8-foot platforms and dive rolling. And at one point I shattered my elbows, and so that doing that consistently, technically for that long and for that long of a time period required a lot of coffee and a lot of discipline. It was sort of, I was a mime in Seattle at one point. I played softball in high school. I played, and that role seemed to combine art and science and math, just every skill I had. And it was great and this doesn't happen for the cute, chubby sidekick character actors very often. I got to play a strong character. Mm-hmm. The minute I bumped over, there's that line coming up. The minute I bumped over to television, I became a lovable loser rather than a strong person. So it was just very interesting to have to shift my art.
You really did that play for 4 years?
Yeah, we started it. We started in a living room. We did it in the tiny theater at the Seattle Rep at the Poncho Forum. Then we did it at the Leo K in Seattle Rep. Then we did it at the Mark Taper Forum. And then we did it at the Atlantic Theater Company in Chelsea. So we were, we did it in Italy at one point in a workshop. So we did it for a long time. And I was the only person for that whole first run that played in every show.
Wow. So you talk about the transition to TV and the lovable losers, but don't you sort of love the lovable losers? They're the people I'm always most drawn to.
Well, we get to have the most fun, we don't have the heavy load of lines. We don't have the big flip through, and we can, as long as you can see us thinking and processing, very often we relate to those people. You know what I mean? There's this great Dario Fo exercise where you give an actor a task to do, but you don't tell the actor what they're doing. And as long as you can see them thinking and other people know the situation, they'll react appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
You could make them be a murderer. You could make them, have, poop in their pants, and then they're laughing. But it's the same. The actor has no idea what they're doing. So as long as you can see into the thinking, I think people tend to relate to the character
Mm-hmm.
a lot. So.
And have you ever, I think actually the answer has to be yes for everyone, but have you ever found your parts cut from a movie or cut down so much so that you almost didn't even recognize them? And how do you sort of deal with that?
It's easier if you don't buy a dress and fly across country for the red carpet. But it's always a shocker because of the long hours.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you're in there and you're in your character. You've been thinking about it for a week. You audition for it. You know what you're doing. You've prepared. Under every adverse situation. And then you go and it's like, and you're like, oh, it's gone. I understood that more when I became a director. In order to push the story forward, sure, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but ultimately there's one person, the editor and the director and everybody pushing that story forward. So it helped once I got on the other side of the camera to understand being decimated. And, you can't take it personally.
Yeah.
So.
What about auditioning? Got any secrets to that?
I do. My mentor is the great actor, producer Tom Hulse. And he was famous for Amadeus, and he produced Spring Awakening, and right now, anyway, so he always said, prepare the living hell out of it. Learn completely off book, completely learn it, and then put it away and act that you just, let's see what's here. That you're just picking it up in front of them for the first time. So it was kind of like, I think Spencer Tracy also had that approach where you learn it and then you put it away and you forget about it.
Yeah.
And then you perform it. And so it's deep in. You're not, and I always try and work the material in the moment in front of people. I don't present because, first of all, you don't have a job yet. But like, I always feel like that magic spark of current present is just so much more interesting than coming in and like,
And you mentioned directing. I know you've directed some really acclaimed stage productions. Obviously, your web series, Kittens in a Cage.
Yeah.
And
Stuck that came out last year.
Yes. So last year you got to make your feature directorial debut with Stuck. And what was that experience like? I mean, I'm always curious with directors because you're very experienced and you've worked with so many amazing directors. But when you actually do it, is it about what you expected, harder than you expected, surprisingly smoother than you expected, especially with an indie film?
Nothing's ever smooth when you're directing a feature. You think you prepare for the tsunami, but it always like, and you're like, oh, I hadn't thought of that one. Oh gosh. But I consider myself sort of a jack of all trades, Jill of none in some strange way. But because I came up through the trenches of theater, I happen to be someone who can edit, who can, run a sound boom, who can, and so, hang lights, who, I'm very well-rounded in terms of the technical stuff. So, once what's under your control is under your control, it's easier to sort of move forward. It's when things become not under your control that you have to sort of seize the day and push onward,
I'm sort of curious. I just like to ask everyone, during this very strange time, what's helping to keep you sane? Are there things you're watching, things you're reading, family, the parrot, obviously?
As a partial Italian American, I find Andrew Cuomo very comforting.
Isn't he wonderful?
I wake up every morning and I wait for him, and I don't get out of bed until he's done. And there's something he's doing. He's not only is he being factual, he's obviously combating the disease, but he's doing it from an economic, a factual, a political, but also from a human standpoint. He makes it human. He talks about, my mom, I got to check on my mom, and there's just something about him that I feel like is very unifying and comforting. What he's saying is terrifying, but he's delivering it with such a leadership that I feel like he's really helping. I do have a lot of relatives on the front line. A shout out to my Dugans in New Jersey on the Irish Scottish side. And I have a doctor cousin in Italy, Fabrizio, and they're, knowing that they're out there, I try and do what I can, checking in on neighbors or checking in on single friends. I try and rotate and just making sure everybody's okay, and, doing what I can to survive something that's, on my part, kind of bourgeoisie. I just need to sit in my house. And you know what I mean? And so I wish I could help more.
Yeah.
Figure out better ways to help. I'm not a seamstress. I'm not good at sewing masks, but I am trying to keep my neighbors and friends, and they're keeping me sane too. So, I will not tell a lie. A nice bottle of rosé at 4:00 and sitting on my front yard waving at the doggies walking by is pretty great too. So.
Oh, that's been the hardest thing, is I can't pet the dogs that go by. Normally I meet all the dogs and give them some loving and just.
I know, because you have your hippo that you love so much, but I I did break that rule. My neighbor got a brand new puppy, and we couldn't to stand it.
How could you resist?
I don't know if we need to restart the 14-day clock over it, but holy cow.
I actually don't have the hippo with me now. He's with his dad, and I haven't seen him in a long time, and it's freaking me out. I mean, I'm pretty okay with missing people, but I really miss dogs.
I didn't know that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but he's the place that he needs to be. Honestly, he's got a really nice setup over there. And this is show business is tough. It just, there's no way around it. It's really, really hard. And I know one of your daughters she's doing really well actually already in this business.
Yeah.
How did you feel when she wanted to enter it?
She's really good at math, and I was like, "Are you sure?" She's laughing. I'm like, "You're really good at math. Are you sure?" Because it's a tough business. We're fishermen. We're fishing all the time. We're staying alive off of nothing some years, a lot some years. But do you want to say hi?
Yeah, bring her in.
You can share.
The chair? Oh my god.
Yeah, you can sit. This is Hazel.
Hello. Hi, Hazel.
Okay.
You were great in your mom's movie, by the way.
Oh,
thank you.
Oh, and stuff.
But
she's great.
do you ask your mom for advice?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Like I have to, exactly. Oh.
We work together. She's separating that a little bit more now. She's out in the world.
And you did not your first movie, sorry, you were in Stuck, but your first movie without your mom, I guess we'll call it, with Alison Brie, right?
Yeah, Horse Girl on Netflix.
Oh, wow. Did you get to go to Sundance with that?
No,
Well, they did go to Sundance and they did invite her, but she had school.
I had school. Yeah.
Is it something you think you want to continue doing? I mean, do you see this as a career?
Yeah. Yes, I'm going to an art school right now. and I'm in theater there, so hopefully that's my main career path.
And are you guys up for working together, like sharing the screen together sometime?
Have we shared this? Oh, have we? No, she was in Kittens in a Cage too, when she was very little. But I guess I was the director in that. She had a scene with Amy Brenneman.
Yeah.
And with Christina Moore, who we love. And let's see, you did a Comedy Central?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was,
Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell.
Funny.
That was pretty funny. As a mom, I was a little like, oh, can we do that? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, the director would be like, can she do that? And she's like, of course. Like, why should I be?
It's like that old give an actor a bowling ball. If they break it, eat it, or
okay.
They're an actor if they can do all three of their equity. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Well, that's good. You have has your other daughter expressed any interest in acting?
Not really, but we throw her in there.
Yeah.
And she bounces pretty well.
She can do anything. She can just do anything that she feels like she wants to do, which is great for her.
She's in Stuck. She's a little girl that's holding up a bag of oregano. Yeah. And in Kittens, we have her running down Melrose with a giant bottle of whiskey. We shoot her in the back at like 70 feet, and she just goes and like falls out of frame. We keep sticking her in, and she's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And what are you doing to stay sane during this lockdown that we're on?
Well, I just got out of online school actually yesterday, so technically I'm on spring break, which is going to be a little boring. But
as of right now.
As of today, it's going to be a little boring, but I'm just going to like get new hobbies, I guess. Maybe start songwriting.
Yeah, we have a whole list. We're going to keep them entertained.
Okay.
We're gonna, she's in an amazing school. She was out there, with a sword in the living room the other day, on camera, going like, it was just kind of like, and a shout out to John Lawler and the principal of her school, who was an old friend of mine from Seattle, who was very decisive and shut that school down. He's an old friend of mine from Annex Theater. He's one of the founders of Annex Theater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and shut that school down and got it going, and so they're still pounding at it.
When you're doing online school, do you actually? I'm sort of curious how this works. Do they know you're there? Or are you on cameras? Okay.
The whole time. Some people figured out in Zoom you can put like crazy backgrounds behind you, so that's entertaining. But yeah, it's pretty much exactly like school.
Except you don't walk around. And we don't drive an hour there.
That's true. There's no commute, which is great.
That's the one thing I really do not miss during this time is the commute and the traffic.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of, I was saying, as awful as this situation is, and it's so very terrible, there is sort of a return to simpler life. I got my bikes out for the first time and oiled them, turned them upside down, and made the seat. It's like things I haven't done in decades and decades. Playing board games and hanging out in the front yard with a glass of wine, and we're very, very fortunate and lucky to be in a place with good weather and a place where we can walk around. I mean, I have friends who are actors who are in the 20 floor high rises in Hell's Kitchen. Hi Pamela, but we've got the lucky easy version of it, as long as we can hunker down and stay inside and really wait for this to blow over.
That's perfectly said. I agree. I actually do, in a weird way, feel lucky compared to so many people, and I think like really remembering that is helping me get through.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I guess enjoy your spring break.
I have a whole list, like fly the drone, play guitar, like we're gonna do it.
It's a camp over there. I love it.
We can set up a tent in the backyard.
Oh dear.
Thank you.
Well, take care. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Check out Stuck. Yeah. You can see so much of Jillian's work. You can check out Stuck. It's on all the on-demand platforms, I believe. Actually, I think, is it on Amazon now?
Yes, it is. It's on Prime.
Oh, there you go.
Stuck with Heather Matarazzo. It's the green poster, because there's a couple. There's many.
That's right. That's
And
right.
I did just shoot a movie called The Undertaker's Wife that I'm very excited about with Shannon Sossamon. So that's
Oh, I love her.
yeah, she's great, man. I got to
I'm
do
a hardcore Knight's Tale fan, so.
yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll be on the lookout for that. Check out Hazel's movies on Netflix now.
Yeah, Horse Girls on Netflix.
All right, check out Horse Girl. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the sunshine today. It's actually nice.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.